can creatine cross the
Yeah.
blood-brain barrier and actually help with cognitive health?
Yeah. So the brain makes its own creatine. The muscle doesn't. So the muscle acts as a vacuum. It basically sucks in all the creatine from the blood. The brain says, hang on, we make our own. We don't need what's in the blood. So one of the big issues with supplementation that we've found out is that creatine can get through the blood-brain barrier, but it's really slow. It's like the blood-brain barrier is there for a reason. It doesn't like it. It can take it in, but it's really slow compared to muscle. If anything, it's half. But eventually, creatine will accumulate very slow, very slow. It can get in through the blood-brain barrier. And then when it gets into our neurons or other cells of the central nervous system, it has been shown to increase brain creatine levels. Now, the interesting thing with the brain is only about 2 kilograms or 2% of our weight, but it uses 20% of our daily energy. And that's on a good day. Now think of when you're sleep deprived, jet lag, kids woke you up, dog had to get up in the middle of the night, you got to work 16 hours, you're an ER doctor, shift worker. Everybody I know in the world is stressed. Everybody could use more sleep. The brain seems to use creatine supplementation almost from a rescue or safety perspective. So I think this is really important for your viewers. If you're a young, healthy individual, adequate sleep, great diet, and you take creatine, you're likely not going to notice any benefits because the brain is already making enough. But if you're sleep deprived, jet lag, stress, night worker, your job is super intense, you're relying on too much caffeine, whatever it is, that's where the brain says, you know what, I could use a little bit of help here. And one of the common denominators is that in the studies, the best lines of evidence with creatine is when you do a mentally fatiguing task or you keep people up for 21 hours with no sleep, it seems to improve memory and cognition when the brain is stressed. So this is important. When you're going through metabolic stressors, creatine seems to come to the rescue. It has been shown, even when the brain is not metabolically stressed, to have some minimal memory benefits for older adults. But at the end of the day, if someone says, I want to take creatine to improve memory, cognition, when you're stressed, that's when it seems to come to the rescue. So before we went on camera here, I talked about his final exam now in universities. Students are staying up all night studying. Could creatine be something that they consume to improve better on their final exams? We don't know, but the logic is there when they're metabolically stressed. So it does improve tasks of cognition and memory after sleep deprivation. I use it when I'm jet lagged. So if I have to fly to Europe and, I typically get jet lag, I actually take a 20-gram dose to offset those effects.
For how long would you do that? Or would it
I would
be
take it for
depending on the time zone?
the week before and then, of course, the week after. So that begs the question, what about the dose for the brain? And this gets a little tricky. So there hasn't been a lot of great studies, but a common denominator with clinical depression, anxiety, and other neurological diseases is that their population, the people who have these conditions, their resting creatine stores in the brain are lower than a healthy control. So maybe supplementation is bringing those levels up or potentially even higher. And the best lines of evidence come from the rodent model. Then, of course, we're having some preliminary data now in humans. When you use an MRI for the brain, it's called an MRS. There's only a few labs that will look at that. When a human will take about 20 grams a day for 7 days, that really increases brain creatine levels. The problem is that's the loading phase I initially talked about when we started this podcast, saying, hey, that's a great dose for rapidly saturating the body, but it might cause a little bit of adverse effects. So I've done the math, and when you look at muscle, bone, and brain, that's where that 10 grams a day seems to be a very viable daily dose. I'm super confident that if you were taking 10 grams or slightly more, your muscle will be full. That checks the box for bone. And it also likely checks the box for brain because there was a good study showing that 10 grams doubled the amount of brain creatine content compared to 2 and 4 grams a day. So I think you need a little bit more. Some will eventually get into the brain. And when the brain is stressed, that's where it really seems to come into action.
Does it help then, for example, like with autism, and often children with autism will experience quite an increase in anxiety, particularly
Yes.
around exams? It does.
Yeah, no research in autism, unfortunately. There has been good research, and it is emerging with depression and anxiety. Please note, though, that creatine was added to their standard treatment. Creatine alone has not been looked at. Not a lot of big promise in Parkinson's, Huntington's, nothing in Lou Gehrig's or ALS, probably because you need long-term clinical trials to be equivocal. Muscular dystrophy, young boys with muscular dystrophy do benefit there. And then unfortunately with multiple sclerosis, we're not seeing any benefits yet. But I'm happy and encouraged to know that there is finally a study looking at creatine in Alzheimer's patients. And we're hoping to start one with clinical dementia starting in 2026 as well. So it is emerging. I think it's the area to focus on for maybe the next 20 or 30 years because we're so fascinated. And the big area we haven't talked about is head trauma, concussion for athletes, or traumatic stress syndrome for individuals. That's the area I think there's going to be a lot of hope there. The mechanism is all consistent. It seems to be a neurotransmitter. And it also seems to decrease inflammation in the brain, just like our muscle when the brain is stressed.
It's very interesting. I mean, tell you, so my son, my eldest son, he's 17 coming on 18.
Okay.
He's on the autism spectrum, very high
Okay.
functioning, very intelligent, but struggles a bit with anxiety. And he was taking, it was one actually that was sent to me, a creatine taurine blend.
Okay,
And that he works really well. He feels
Yes.
a little bit calmer, I think, from
Yeah.
the taurine, and he has that energy and focus.
Yeah.
And that was going to be my question. Are there any other things that are kind of synergistic, like
Yeah.
taurine?
Yeah, there hasn't been any RCTs on creatine and taurine, but the mechanisms are there. For example, taurine, obviously being an amino acid compound in theory, has some anti-inflammatory properties as well with combined with creatine. So no issues with taurine, but I need to see the evidence comparing creatine by itself with creatine and taurine. The best lines of evidence are creatine combined with protein, actually. So you get the beneficial effects of protein, and they seem to be synergistic with creatine. So there's been a few studies when you combine creatine and protein, you get greater improvements in lean body mass and muscle performance. Nothing's been looked at now on bone or brain, but that's for future research designs. For the elite athletes watching, creatine and beta-alanine or sodium bicarbonate have been shown to have a more buffering effect. But that's about it, really. We sort of tried to do a study with creatine and CLA, derivative of omega-6. It had a little bit of potential, but getting the omega-3 oil with creatine is very tough to do from an experimental perspective. But there's been some ideas with creatine and collagen coming up for bone health or arthritis and things like that. So I think it's an area of interest for a lot of research labs to look at creatine in combination with other things. Yeah.
I mean, that's really interesting, isn't it? Creatine with collagen, because also there's some research I've seen around collagen with protein, like you were saying,
Right.
creatine with protein as well. And then there's also collagen with protein and how that supports the body and the connective tissues in addition.
Yeah.
When you're saying creatine, I mean, creatine with protein makes sense, right? Because creatine is found in protein-rich foods. But when you're saying creatine with protein, are you saying like if someone's preparing a shake, say a whey isolate or maybe a plant-based shake, adding some creatine into that shake, that's when I do it? Is that a good idea?
That's 100% correct. Yeah. So I throw in about 5 grams in a big bowl of Greek yogurt and whey protein for breakfast. But in the studies that have looked at it, it's the two powders coming together. Same principle as if you were to put it in yogurt or whichever it is. It's the same principle. Yeah.
And how much protein do you need to match that 5 grams in terms of?
Yeah, interesting though. The studies that have shown some effects, it was small dose, about 25 to 30 grams in one setting. So not a lot. That would be your typical shake, if you will, a scoop of whey protein or whichever it was. Both studies were whey protein based. But if you were to put creatine in a bowl of Greek yogurt, it's the same amount there as well. Now keep in mind the dose of protein does depend on the age. I think if you're under 40, 20, 25 grams is plenty. If you're over 40, you might need about 40 or so due to that aging anabolic resistance.
Yeah. You know what's really interesting to me, and obviously I'm not a scientist, so you might just absolutely laugh at this, but when you were looking at creatine in the brain and how it could improve, right, if someone was taking enough creatine, and the studies that were being done around kind of mood stability and things like that, what's interesting is when you look at serotonin and experts that I've had on in relation to gut health and neuroscientists, because 90% of the serotonin is made in the gut, but that's not getting across the blood-brain barrier. However, through the vagus nerve, when the gut feels happy and there's sufficient serotonin, which also helps with motility, it seems like that then communicates for the brain. If it has enough tryptophan and stuff and the right, steps to convert it, it will then make its own serotonin. I was just curious, do you think there's maybe a link there coming through in terms of what the brain's doing in response?
I'm aware of one paper looking at creatine potentially improving gut health. It's a very interesting idea there. And one of the most fascinating, probably in the last 2 years, is that creatine is now acting not only as a neurotransmitter, but a neuromodulator. And it's seeming to have an interaction with dopamine and serotonin. And that's why we think it might have huge applications for clinical depression. That's the idea or premise, is that unlike SSRIs, it can actually sort of modulate or sort of kind of be like caffeine as an adenosine antagonist to the brain. It'll make you alert. It seems to cause more of a stimulating or pleasurable effect. And when you talk to people with clinical depression in the papers, it seems to improve their mood symptoms. They don't need to rely on so much drug dependency or medication. So their self-efficacy goes up, self-esteem. So super fascinating. And I think that'll be a huge area of research. I do know there's a group out of Utah, a psychiatry group, that has been looking at creatine, and there's a lot of excellent data coming out of there as well, especially with clinical depression.
Really, really interesting. But you're saying in terms of like dosaging it to help with the brain at the moment, the preliminary research seems to be that you would stagger that across the day. So like if someone, I mean, you make a good point with exams, right? Both my boys are taking their end exams, which are really important. They count. Would they, and they may not be getting enough sleep, someone who's working hard, jet lagged, would they be better off splitting that across the day?
Yeah. So just recently, a great study out of Germany showed that a massive bolus dose, I think it was about 30 grams, can be consumed one setting and have some brain beneficial effects on memory and cognition post-sleep deprivation. But I don't know if 30 grams is viable in a single dose. I think that's a very lot for people. I see no reason why you can't take smaller, more frequent dosages, because unlike caffeine, creatine does need to accumulate in the tissues. And if you have a more steady state throughout the day, I think you'll get beneficial effects. And I think if you're looking at those higher dosages, more frequent, smaller dosages is more plausible for people. And in the studies that showed those beneficial effects, 20 grams a day for about 7 days was the minimum. There's only been one study in people with long COVID at 4 grams a day. It did accumulate in the brain after 3 months. So I think if you're taking smaller dosages, that's fine. Just be a lot more patient. I think a little bit will get into the brain when you need it. If you take a bit higher dose, that might get in there a little bit more. And that's personally why I've doubled my dose, at least 10 grams a day. I'm now trying to hit the whole body, not just musculoskeletal.
So if you've got somebody who's training, like my middle son, he basically likes to do his revision and then he'll go work out in the gym and do resistance training.
Yeah.
You could argue that the muscles are going to like rob a little bit more of that creatine, right? Because they need them. And so maybe there's an argument for an increased dose if you've got exam revision, the brain's using a load, and then the muscles are using a load as well.
100%. I'd almost double it. There's no reason why there's no adverse effects. We're not seeing anything. A massive paper just came out on the safety. I think the average dose was 12 grams, no greater effects. So if your son happens to be taking 3 to 5 grams a day and he's maybe 70 or 80 kilograms or whatever he is, I see no reason why you can't increase it. We have so many studies out there now showing no adverse effects, superior benefits with higher dosages. Yeah.
Up to 10 or 12. And what about any argument that we talk about the fact that it can help with sleep deficits? If you're staggering that dose, would there be any benefit to taking it before sleep? Could it improve sleep outcomes?
Yeah, we just published a paper last year in biological females who were exercising. And when they took 5 grams a day for 6 weeks, on the days they trained with weights, it was 2 days a week, they actually improved sleep duration by an extra hour, and it was statistically significant. So we think it has some benefits to exercising and maybe causing the body to sleep a little bit more for extra recovery, getting you ready for the next thing. So not only does it decrease sleep deprivation, there's some evidence to suggest it improves greater sleep quantity.
Interesting. Do you think it would improve the quality in addition to the quantity, or?
We didn't show that, and we definitely need to look at sex differences there as well, because the question is, you might sleep longer, but if you're tossing and turning, okay, what was being measured? They did the Oura ring in this case, but it'd be great to go into a sleep lab and see the stages of non-REM and REM sleep and deep quality sleep. And I think now with that paper coming out last year, I think some sleep lab researchers will be sort of looking at this to see, can it have, and if it does, why? We don't know why it does. We did not measure any mechanisms.
Yeah, that would be super interesting, because you think like a busy mum like myself, I probably don't have much room to improve sleep duration because there isn't that time available at this point. But sleep quality would be a big thing. Yeah,
I would pay anything for greater sleep quality. I would do it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's the magic, isn't it?
Yes.
And if you're taking it then at night, I don't know what the study did, but again, would it be better then to take it with the evening meal because you're having it with food as opposed to a bedtime drink?
Yeah, so there wasn't a time perspective, but yeah, if you were to take it in the evening, you can take it with food. I like taking it like later on in the evening, shortly before going to bed when I need that extra boost, so jet lag and things like that. So again, the timing is irrelevant per se, but I do suggest on the days you work out, try to take it in close proximity to exercise. So that means maybe an hour before, you can take it during your workout or after. Muscle contractions really seem to increase the uptake there. And I think that's a very consistent, think of creatine as a recovery or reward for you exercising. It really will help you allow you get back to the gym or whatever it is. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So either before, during, or post training is a good time to take
Yeah.
it.
And again, you can take it at any time, but I like taking it in close proximity to exercise.
Yeah, I take it straight after actually.